Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mark Scott, and I'm really delighted to have a chance to chat with you this afternoon. I'm going to share my screen now and just go through a brief presentation. And as Laura said, we'll take some questions at the end. So just bear with me as I share my screen and get the presentation started. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the graduate programs in the School of Architecture, Planning and Environmental Policy. As Laura said, I'm a professor of planning, but I'm also dean, which covers architecture, landscape architecture, planning and environmental policy. I've been working in UCD for about 20 years now, just past 20 years exactly. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our graduate programs, but also the facilities, the staff that would be perhaps teaching you as well, and some of the graduate experience as well. So the School of Architecture, Planning and Environmental Policy is made up of 4 different disciplinary areas. So these are distinct subject areas within the school as a whole. So we cover architecture, environmental policy, landscape architecture, and regional and urban planning. So although these are distinct subjects within our school, we also emphasize the importance of interdisciplinary learning and also interdisciplinary in terms of our research approach as well. So you'll find that we teach across our subjects, we have joint teaching, joint research programs, and we try to cross and push our disciplinary boundaries as well. I think that's important for our students because this replicates the real world. As an architect, you'll be working with landscape architects and planners, people from a specialist environmental background as well. So it's important to sort of get that understanding of the different disciplines, really expose that at a graduate level. So learning to work with different people, different groups, expose to different approaches, methods, and research methods as well. I think we try to replicate that real world experience within the school. We've quite a large school. We have over 100 staff who are involved in the teaching of our programs. This is a mix of full-time faculty, but also some part-time teaching staff who maintain very active practice and design links in the professional world as well. I think that's very important that we bring not just our research experience into the classroom, but also our practice and professional links and networks and experience into the classroom as well. We've over 600 students in the school, and we're currently ranked within the top 150 in the world in terms of universities providing built environment education and research. And we're ranked #1 in Ireland. So these are our graduate master's programs in UCD in relation to built and environment programs. So we have the Masters in Regional Urban Planning, the MSc in Urban Design and Planning, and a related program in Planning, Development and Urban Design, Master's program in Environmental Policy, an MSc in Architecture, Urbanism and Climate Action, our Masters of Architecture program, and a program of a Masters in Landscape Architecture. And we have about over 100 master's students currently in the school at the moment. So it's a very vibrant graduate school to be a part of. So it's a very sociable school, lots of sort of networking opportunities, lots of chances to build those professional networks very early on in your career. So I'm going to talk about each of these programs in turn, but also before I move on to the programs, just to recognize that for many of our programs, particularly in planning and landscape architecture and architecture, it's important that our programs are internationally recognized and professionally accredited as well. So we have quite a lot of accrediting bodies in our school. So we have our own Irish professional institutes like the Irish Planning Institute or the Irish Landscape Institute, but also international bodies like the Royal Town Planning Institute, the National Architectural Accrediting Board, which is US based, and RIBA as well. These professional accrediting bodies are crucial to maintaining our professional and practice standards within our programs. Also ensures that we respond to new challenges as they arise from practice, but they also help us maintain very strong professional links and networks as well. If you come to UCD, you'll be taught by staff that are of the highest quality. And just as a measure of that quality, I've just listed here in a couple of slides, just to sort of mark a recognition of some of the staff's achievements. The staff are all active researchers, which means we are the leading edge of our field. And we bring that research into the classroom in terms of case studies or in terms of leading edge practice and design as well. Much of this research has been recognised through awards nationally and internationally as well. Many of us are involved actively in learning societies or editors of international journals, again, recognising that we're at the top of our field. Many of us play an active role in external examining at other universities or hold prestigious grants either at European level or at national level. So again, recognising that what we're doing is of the highest quality. In terms of our professional links as well, and links into policy, into design practice as well, many of our teaching staff are award-winning architects and designers, and it's been recognised at international awards and nationally. And many of us play an expert role in terms of advising policymakers, contributing to policy making, being appointed to state boards, and so on. So really, you can be assured that we're a very experienced group of teaching staff, and our achievements have been recognised on a global stage. So these are some of the research projects that are going on in our school. These range from large European projects, like the iScape project involves 16 cities across Europe involved in a citizen science project on monitoring air pollution and how that relates to the quality of the built environment. EcoHealth, one of my own projects, looking at how green space contributes to health and well-being. And some of our research looks at the wider economy in rural places. It's the Beacon project. And at the bottom of the screen here, we can see some of our significant award-winning architects that are involved in teaching in the programme. So O'Donnell and Toomey have won prizes in Europe, United States, as well as Ireland for some of their designs, including this university in Eastern Europe. And also Yvonne Farrell and Sherry McNamara are involved in Grafton Architects, the lead architects there, and their work has been recognised globally, including a recent REBA Gold Medal award. If you come to study in UCD, you'll find a very welcoming environment. The programmes in our school were all based on a single part of the campus. We're slightly off the main UCD campus, based in what is known as UCD Richview. So this is all our school activities based on one location. Many of these are listed historic buildings, so you can sort of see behind me the screen some of these buildings. So we're very lucky that we have a real sense of community, a real sense of scholarship on the campus. We have our own facilities, we have our own library, which you can see in the picture at the top of the screen, which means we have our own on-site librarians who provide fantastic advice for mapping, for professional design standards, and so on. All our programs have access to their own studio facilities or small group teaching facilities. We have our own on-site computer facility as well. So we're very self-contained, which creates that sense of community I think we have and are very proud of in Richview. Importantly, we have our own coffee shop, which is great for meeting students, for meeting staff members as well. And we have our own dedicated research facilities, the Richview Research Hub. So everything we have is on a campus. It's a very characterful part of UCD. Something we really enjoy working in this environment as well. And I think one thing we're very proud of in our programs is that we're very outward looking. We know the importance of some of the critical challenges facing society today, and you'll find these are sort of really mainstreamed into all our teaching programs. And we find that our students really demand that we put these issues front and center, and we've responded to that by making sure that things like climate change is really mainstreamed into all our teaching programs and really addressed throughout most of the modules and design practice you'll be exposed to. But other issues, biodiversity loss, the importance of housing, one of the big challenges of our time, providing affordable housing, sense of quality of housing as well, and how we build back better after a global pandemic such as COVID. So how do we ensure our environment is suitable for that post-pandemic world? Okay, I'm going to move on to talk a little bit about our graduate programs, and I can take questions about each of those specifically as they arise. So the first program is our planning master's program, the Master's in Regional and Urban Planning. This is a 2-year graduate professional planning degree, which focuses on the key skills you need to acquire to be recognized as a professional planning practitioner. The modules in this program cover theory, but also the legal frameworks for planning, how planning administration and governance works. But we also put a real emphasis on practical-based learning, so project-based teaching, studio-based learning. So we always do our plan-making exercises in a real sort of live professional context. Students also have the option of an internship in professional practice during their degree program. Or alternatively, students often go at this time to an exchange program. Sometimes a few of our students are in Chicago at the moment, or they undertake an individual research project. So there's a chance to sort of tailor your program to suit your own needs as well. It's an intensive learning experience. It's policy relevant and very practice related, and it's accredited by 2 professional bodies. We have 2 programs in master's programs in urban design. The main program that most students will go into is the MSc in Urban Design and Planning. And this focuses on that relationship between design and the urban planning context. So some of the specialisms within this relate to urban design studio, conservation and heritage, but also I think we have a good signature in relation to how we look at environmental issues through urban design, particularly nature-based design solutions. This tends to attract students from different backgrounds, sometimes from architecture, from planning, but also wider social science backgrounds as well. And then we have a slightly smaller program, which is an MSc in Planning, Development and Urban Design. And this program is only open to architects on the Register of Architects through the Royal Irish Architect Institute. So this is simply for accreditation purposes. So most of our students will generally go into the MSc Urban Design and Planning. These are 12-month programs. They have their own dedicated facilities within UCD, and there's also a lot of interaction with the other programs as well. We also offer a master's program in environmental policy, which looks at these real big global issues of climate change, biodiversity loss, and look at how to translate that understanding of some of those environmental challenges and translates it into concrete policy action. This is another 12-month program. It focuses on key professional skills that people will be able to apply in very much policy-oriented jobs. Modules here will include things like environmental economics, environmental behaviour, European environmental policy, and also the application of knowledge within project-based learning. There's also a very popular summer internship program, which many students do instead of a thesis over the summer. One of our more recently introduced programs is the MSc in Architecture, Urbanism and Climate Action. I suppose this was a real response to the need for built environment professionals to be really center stage in relation to climate action debates, whether that's mitigating climate change or adapting the built environment to the risks associated with climate change. So this is a 12-month program, a master's program. There's core modules related to sustainable development goals and how that translates to urban design. It has an understanding of climate science and policy as an evidence base for the design process, and has a range of option modules as well. This also has an opportunity for doing an industry placement or doing a thesis in collaboration with industry, or undertaking an individual research project as part of that program. The Masters of Architecture program is a program related to completing your professional qualifications as an architect. It's a 2-year program which fulfills requirements for the second part of professional education as part of REBA and the Royal Irish Architects Institute. It really is very focused on design work, small group teaching, studio-based work, and as I said, it's not only accredited by the Irish and UK institutes, but it's uniquely also accredited by the US institute. So it's really a global qualification, and it's recognized across the world. And finally, we have our Masters in Landscape Architecture program, which is another professional master's. This is a 2-year program leading to qualification as a professional landscape architect. It again is a largely design-based program and addresses the critical challenges around climate change, biodiversity, health, and well-being. So, for example, the picture in the slide is a new park designed in North Dublin, but with the idea of this, health, well-being goals were at the center of the design process. It also integrates research skills, independent research learning into the program as well. And it's again collaborates with some of our other master's programs. So although I'm a planner, I also teach on this master's program. The job market at the moment is exceptionally strong for our graduates. In areas that I'm most familiar with in terms of my own work, most of our students are pretty much picking up job offers during their internships, and by the time they graduate, they're all working in the job market. Many people from our programs maybe would have went into the public sector at one stage, particularly from the planning master's programs, but we're finding most of our graduates are now moving into the private sector, and that would have just been the case for architecture anyway. We're finding a huge demand for graduates also with specialist knowledge of climate sustainability understanding, and that's something we've really invested in recent years, making sure our students are really equipped to deal with those really complex problems. And you'll find UCD graduates from our programs working really all across the world. Design practice, working in international organizations such as the UN and European Union. And many of our students go on to work in national government as policy advisors, or a local or regional level as well. Probably the vast majority of our graduates at the moment are going into the private sector, which is really growing in Ireland at the moment and internationally. So there's a huge investment in the built environment. So this is a really buoyant job sector. But also others might take a slightly different career path, working for NGOs, charitable section, or into research or academia itself as well. So that's the end of my presentation. Very happy to take questions as they arise. So I'll hand over to Laura to see if we've many questions.
That's great. Thank you, Mark. I think that was really insightful for attendees to get a really whistle-stop tour of all the programs within the School of Architecture, Planning, Environmental Policy. And we've probably got a couple of attendees who've actually applied for the programs, and then some of our attendees may be thinking if they should apply. So that's great. We have one or two, I think we have one question so far anyway from someone who is wanting to know about a very specific issue that they're having. So I might just, for that person, pop my email address in the chat, if you just bear with me, and ask them to reach out to me directly. I don't really have an answer for you now. I kind of need a bit more information. I think this is in the forum to have it. So I'm just going to, for that person, I'm just going to pop my email address in the chat there, pick it up there, send me an email after the event today, and I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you. And then anyone else who wants to grab that email address as well, if you have a question after the event today, you can reach out to me directly, or if you're making an application later on down the line, you can send me an email if you need any support as well. So grab that there. Mark, I have some questions that I might throw to you if that's okay. And then for the rest of our attendees, if you want to start typing any questions that you have in the Q&A button, just in the control panel at the bottom of your screen. But Mark, you touched on accreditations. So obviously for most of the programs within our School of Architecture, Planning, and Environmental Policy, they are all professionally kind of geared qualifications. They have accreditations attached to them. You touched on a little bit about the accreditations, but for students who are maybe looking at programs within UCD or maybe elsewhere, and some programs would be accredited and some wouldn't, what is the value to a student in pursuing a degree that actually has an accreditation? And does it make a difference when they're looking for positions or jobs?
Yeah, I mean, it gives you certainly, I mean, most jobs that advertise as a planner or a landscape architect or an architect will require you to have that professional recognition. So it's absolutely critical. You can't do a geography degree and then call yourself a planner, or just call yourself an architect. You must have a professionally recognized program. The advantage of our recognition is that we have multiple accreditation for all our programs. So I mean, architecture, the MArch in architecture is a good example. So it's credit in Ireland, the UK, and the United States, and that allows you to be practice architecture anywhere in the world to be recognised as an architect. So it gives you currency, it gives you global recognition when you go somewhere. So it's absolutely central to your career development.
Yeah, I think that's really important for attendees to kind of look at. There is some particular qualifications or jobs out there that require you to get professional accreditation, and having a degree that is accredited will help along that process, which is really important. Another obviously aspect of a lot of our degrees is we offer a research project as part of the degree. A lot of students want to know, do they get to choose the topic? Is there topics provided for them? Is there opportunities for collaboration with industry for these projects? Or you tell us a little bit more information about that if you can.
Yeah, we've went increasingly down a sort of a hybrid path. So often staff members will talk to students about their own research interests to see if students want to align with individual faculty, and that's often a good approach. A lot of our students now, instead of doing a traditional master's thesis, will go on to an internship and then also do a project. We'll do a piece of reflective writing on that. So that's a really good way of getting exposure to professional practice and professional links at a very early stage. Others will be through an industry collaboration. So we'll get people proposing real world challenges to us, and then we'll address that within a thesis. So there's a lot of scope, a lot of scope for taking on projects that you're really passionate about, and you really are, if it's climate change and that's the issue you really want to address, you can specialize within that within your thesis. So it's kind of all of those questions you raise, it's all of them. You can pick your own kind of independent research project, you can collaborate with industry, you can do an internship and base a project on that as well. Usually a lot of flexibility, and you're going to be closely supervised as well.
Right. And is there guidance around students who maybe don't know if they want to do internships or research projects? Is there help to make that choice?
We will introduce that fairly on in the program. It usually would be undertaken within the second trimester, so in the spring term. So we usually give students quite a lot of advice and talks in relation to their options, and then we allow them to sort of make their choice, usually after the Christmas break. So lots of advice, lots of talk, lots of support in relation to making your choice. And it's often students will come in and with one idea, but they'll go out with something really that got their interest and do something else.
Right. And then also, Mark, just leading on from that question, I suppose for students who may be really committed to the research aspect and potentially going on and they want to do a PhD, is that something that the school has opportunities for? And also, I think someone was asking about potentials for postdoc research as well. Do you entertain that within the school?
Sure, we have a very active PhD program in the school. We probably have about 20 to 30 PhD students at any one time in the school. They're often working very closely with faculty in relation to funded research projects, or maybe their own independent research as well. So it's very, very active. Many of those students come to us from all over the world, and some of them will come from within our own programs as well. So that's something we like to encourage. People coming through their masters and staying on to do a PhD. Once you complete your PhD, we have a lot of research funding in our school. We're very active and very successful in research awards. So we're usually desperately looking for postdocs to work on those projects. So there is a research path that many students will take, and we really welcome that.
Yeah, great. I think that's good to know. It's very research intensive school, so there's plenty of opportunities available. And then also just leading on, obviously careers are a big aspect of the course and getting a job post degree. And you touched on that a little bit in your presentation. But what are the supports available to students and maybe within the school that help students get a job post degree?
Yeah, we have good links with the careers office in UCD, and they will often come over and deliver specialist advice to our students in relation to preparing your CV, preparing for job interview. We host quite a lot of networking events on campus. We bring in consultancies, practitioners who will talk about their own experiences, but often it gives a chance for the students to try to network with those potential employers in the future as well. And we bring a lot of practitioners into our classrooms, and we find some of them use that to recruit students in the future as well. So we have that sort of very good professional links. We have our own professional networks. We liaise with the career service in UCD, and they've been very active and supportive. So we do that an awful lot throughout the years. And that's something. So sometimes it's their student led as well. We have very successful student societies across our different subject areas, and they will tend to organize events, invite speakers in, and they're often people who are have very high profile in their professional networks. So we like to encourage students to take the lead with some of that as well.
Yeah, great. Plenty of opportunities for networking, I think, is really an important aspect of the kind of programs that we offer within your school. And then there's just another question specifically around landscape architecture, but I think applies for maybe across the board. Obviously in Ireland, we're coming out of the COVID pandemic. We're starting to release some of our restrictions. Do you envisage field trips and more hands-on practical natures being brought back to the student experience now post kind of COVID restrictions that we've had in Ireland?
Yeah, we've actually been teaching pretty much as normal this entire academic year. There's been more restrictions in terms of mask wearing and social distancing, but we've been back face to face teaching since September, and that includes field trips. We've tried to do a lot of local based field trips that doesn't encourage us getting buses across Ireland to visit places. I would envisage by September we will be entirely back to normal. So we've been I've been face to face lecturing all term. We'll be doing studio face to face all academic year. So because we're a good size, we're not like the sort of the large lecture rooms in arts and social science where we maybe have 400 students. We're quite an intimate body in relation to sort of good sized classes. We've been ventilating all our rooms and all the rest, but we will be back to normal, and I think that's a really healthy student experience. I think the pandemic was challenging. I think what the students missed out on wasn't so much the exposure to staff, but they missed each other and that peer support that being in a really good class provides. And we find our students are really collegial with each other, and they get on extremely well, and that creates a great environment on campus.
Yeah, I think that's great for potential students to know that the experience isn't being impacted by, wasn't too impacted by COVID, but now it's not going to be impacted going forward, which is
this year for students it was a normal academic year pretty much, except for wearing masks, but yeah. That those restrictions have been lifted further again, so we're pretty much back to normal already.
Great. I think that's good to know. I think this person was just asking specifically around the postdoc research again, but I think again it applies to other areas. Within your school, is there a lot of interdisciplinary research that goes on, and I suppose interdisciplinary teaching that goes along with other departments, maybe like the engineering department?
Yeah, sure. We work collaboratively across the disciplines within our school, both for teaching and research. So I'm a planner, but I've worked with my architect colleagues recently on a climate change adaptation of the built environment project. I was teaching landscape architecture students and planning students yesterday in a landscape planning course. So we do that regularly, and we do collaborate very well with our colleagues in different schools, particularly civil engineering, but also in social sciences for some of the more policy related disciplines. So if you're a a planning student, you will also do your planning law course in the law school. So we have those type of links, and we also work with our economist colleagues, our social policy colleagues as well. So you'll find because we focus on real world problems like housing, climate change, you have to work with other colleagues, because we need to be exposed to different types of knowledge and methods to be able to solve those types of problems.
Thank you. I think that's a great answer, and I think yeah, regardless of what degree that you choose to do potentially with our School of Architecture, Planning and Environmental Policy, you will work with other people within other areas. And if your interest lies in somewhere specific, you can always kind of lead your kind of studies and your research in that particular direction as well. So I think there's just two other open questions that we have, and I might field those just because they're more administrative, I suppose. Someone was asking about, are they able to work part-time while doing one of our particular masters? In this case, it's Architecture, Urbanism and Climate Change. From a administrative point of view, yes, you're allowed work part-time as far as the programs go. I think it's 20 hours per week max during term time, if it's as a visa requirement, and that can go up to 40 hours a week outside term. So yes, legally you're allowed work part-time during our programs. We always advise students that if they can limit the amount of work that they're doing outside, it's beneficial to the student, because you should be concentrating on your studies, and some of them can be quite intensive, and particularly if it's around internships or research projects and things like that. We always advise students where they can not work, they shouldn't, but we are fully aware that for a lot of students, particularly international students, Dublin is an expensive city. So if you have to work part-time, yes, you are legally allowed to do that. I would just make sure that you're concentrating on your studies where possible, and keeping in touch with your program director and your module coordinators if you do find you're struggling in any aspect like that. So yes, you are allowed. And then also someone asking about how many students we take into our Masters of Architecture. So every year, our amount of students that we take into our programs fluctuates. It changes year on year. Some years we get, the maximum amount of students that we'll take in, and sometimes we don't. So I won't give you a particular number. What I would say is we do like to keep our class sizes very small. We like to keep our class sizes small because we want to concentrate on the student experience, and because these are quite hands-on, very practical subjects that we offer. Having small class size is really important for the learning experience of the student as well. So we try to keep them relatively small, which I think our students benefit from and appreciate as well. So hopefully that answered your kind of questions there. And I think that was the only ones that we had left open. So we might finish it up there. I think that's where we'll finish it. Mark, thank you very much for your presentation today. Thank you, our attendees, for joining us, and also for feeding us questions today.